Welcome back to the amazing VC Social Club. Where the heat sort of boils. Sometimes it rises. According to some people, we didn't go hard enough on the last episode, so maybe tonight we're gonna go harder. Okay, so I'm here with Groove Seeker. And our guest here, Joel, right?
Hello.
Joel, do you want to introduce yourself a little bit?
Hey, my name is Joel. I'm a collector. I also run an online store, and I've been going to Record Store Day since the very beginning. So I do have some opinions on, on the way things are done.
Wait, Record Store Day started in 2008. Don't tell me you were there in 2008.
I was.
What?
Damn.
Jeez. You didn't tell me this. You didn't tell me that.
Well, you didn't ask. I could show you. I got some of that stuff right over here. I mean, I'm not going to pull it out. I don't remember what came out back then, but yeah, I've been doing it since the beginning. Wow. I have complaints about Record Store Day that go back for the beginning, but it doesn't. Yeah. Anyway, we'll get into that later. I'll let you finish your thing.
Well, let's wait up for everybody. I'll shoot out some people in here in the chat. Welcome, Cesar. Hopefully we're gonna go hard here.
We're gonna go hard.
Maybe not, right? Maybe it's not enough for people. Welcome, R7. JBL Frank, welcome. Frank's Music. Wolfman. Jeez.
Wolfman.
Man. Maybe Wolfman has some, nice things to say about Record Store Day. I think we met up at Record Store Day, right, Wolfman? I think. Was it Record Store Day? Welcome, Mark. All right. Welcome, Vinyl Kicks. That's right. Welcome, Mr. Doom here. Mr. Doom was writing me, right? I don't think you were being cynical about what you said, and I think Joe will probably get deep into it, perhaps. Oh, for Joel here, Cesar saying I was probably there since the beginning at Amoeba, but I just saw the lines, and I said, I ain't making those lines just to go in, so I just went in. Oh, man. Oh, it's true. Me and the Wolfman met 2022 RSD at Electric Fetus. That's right.
Wow.
Should I exaggerate Wolfman? Wolfman was wearing the wolf mask. Kids were asking for his autograph.
I need to go out to Electric Fetus. From what I saw, what they did this year, they're doing Record Store Day right? Because they're the store. They brought in a bunch of, I think Dave from Soul Asylum was there, and they brought some other bands there to do signings. I'm pretty sure that was the record store that did that this year.
Well, he did.
They're in Minneapolis, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, they had Bootsy Collins.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Bootsy Collins. That's right.
Bootsy Collins was back behind the cashier, and he was all decked out as Bootsy Collins, of course. And while I was watching that video, while I was like waiting in some other RSD line, I was like, what the hell? I mean, like they got Bootsy Collins. Like I'm here. Who did I get? No, nothing. Like, Welcome, Sean. Final Dreamscape.
Yeah, that's the only downside to, well, it's not the only downside, but the main downside to lining up all night outside your local record store is that you're too tired to stay up for when most of the stores do their events, like if they have bands. A lot of stores locally do that. Like I know Love Wheel did that. And I think some others did it as well. But it's like you're just too worn out because you're the idiot waiting in line since midnight or whatever.
But I mean, people weren't waiting in line in 2008, were they? They just
Yeah.
Don't tell me people were in line.
I mean, so
in
the line
2008.
has progressively gotten longer and longer. It's obviously shorter on the Black Friday record store days, but there's been lines Now I've been progressively going earlier and earlier every year. Why, I don't know, but yeah, there's been lines since the beginning.
Wow.
Joel, do you feel that you need to wait online because there's stuff you need or want, or do you just feel like it's tradition now?
Yeah, there is absolutely. In fact, I think it was Black Friday, record store day. I didn't wait in line, and I showed up at, I think, maybe 11 or noon or something, and the records I wanted were there. There hasn't been a need for me to wait in line, maybe ever, because the stuff that I like, that I listen to, just no one cares about it. So there's always extra copies. And we're lucky because Waterloo here locally carries everything, and they buy like the maximum amount. So they don't run out of the stuff that I want. So no, I line up just for the fun of it. Sometimes I want a little bit of pain with my joy,
That's not true. I mean, you were ahead of me in the line. I don't know if you knew where I was.
I didn't, because I didn't see your message on Discord, so I didn't know you were in line. Otherwise, I would have hooked up with you, and so we could talk. Because the people that were around me were Taylor Swift people, so like I didn't have anything to talk to them about.
I didn't go to my local till 3. And I got
PM
everything except one thing.
or AM.
Yeah. PM. No, I haven't waited online on purpose ever. Although Black Friday I was up early, so I just went and I didn't need to, So I was just curious about that because I feel like a lot of us, there isn't a lot we need to wait online for unless it's something exclusive to that store that's not part of our RSD. They do some of their grails or something that get released.
There hasn't been something that I wanted at record store day that I wasn't able to get in a very long time. I remember Neil Young did some kind of like super, super limited thing forever ago, and I wasn't able to get it. But in hindsight, it's like, yeah, I didn't really even need it. It wasn't that cool. It was just the fact that it was limited that I wanted it. So it wasn't a bad thing. But I always get everything that I want. It's one of the blessings of having a taste in music, that isn't, I didn't really care about Wicked or Taylor Swift or whatever.
Yep.
I mean, let me just show Joel here where I was in line, okay? Just to, where there was construction, and over there was that, I guess, that coffee shop or whatever. I was way back there, suffering.
What time did you get there?
6:30.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't early enough.
Yeah, like I keep having to. I mean, I don't know if you saw where I was, but I was right in front of that store that's kind of around the corner from that soap store. I always forget the name of it, but I was kind of on the side of the building. But last year, if I got there at the same time I got there this year, I would have been much closer. There was definitely more people there this year than there was last time. But I progressively have to keep going earlier and earlier to be up near the front. I got there just before midnight.
And that one person that was the first person there, she must have gotten there before you. I think she got there the day before. Yeah,
the first person in line, Waterloo posted, it was something obscene, like 11 a.m. the day before. But so I don't know if you want to jump into what's bad about Record Store Day. It's bad that someone had to do that in order to get the Wicked soundtrack. It's also bad that someone even wanted that damn thing because that bad. But that's, I'm not going to get, I'm not going to like shit on people's music taste. But the Wicked, I think it's bad that they
just go.
Yeah. it's not good that they don't press enough of these records. It's always, it doesn't happen every year, but it happens enough. And this year is the Wicked soundtrack, right? And I mean, and some stores ran with it and did interesting things. Like I saw one store auctioned it off for charity, and that was cool. I don't, but it's like, they kind of have to do that so that they're not made into the bad person, right? Because they think it's the record store's fault. Like, you didn't order enough, and it's like, no, they didn't press enough. They did fix the Taylor Swift. They did fix Taylor Swift this time. Last time it was Taylor Swift. This time they pressed too many Taylor Swifts. But go ahead.
Well, my question on this is that I think there's approximately 1,400 or 1,500 stores that participate, and there's apparently 2,000 Wickeds. So how come every store doesn't get at least one?
So it depends on how many they order. So the way the way the distributor does it is they have to allocate because they don't have enough to go around, and so they go based on how much you order, not how they don't spread them out evenly. Meaning, if a store, like, we all know Mike Esposito, right? He orders the maximum amount of whatever it is he wants. So he's going to get the maximum amount that they're going to allocate to anybody. Same thing with Waterloo, same thing with Amoeba. But if a smaller store, say, only wanted 5 copies, right? They may not get any, right? Or they may be lucky to get one. And I don't know, I don't have any evidence of any like underhanded things of like anybody holding one's back or anything like that, but there's always the possibility that kind of thing happens.
My thing is, like, I hear you on the allocation, and certainly like the bigger stores like Amoeba or In Groove they kind of deserve that, honestly, if they're going to put that much at stake, because it's not always a win for them, I would assume, on every title. But why can't it be one per store, and then the surplus of the difference gets allocated to the bigger purchases? Yeah. It just seems a little unfair to the smaller stores. Now, if they decide not to order it, because I'm sure some shop owners, depending on what they specialize in, they probably didn't see value in the Wicked. They're like, the Wicked, like, we're a jazz shop, we don't need that, right? That's a possibility. But I get the sense from what I've seen on social media, and even the store near me, Darkside Records, has a massive stock of RSD stuff. They got one title, one piece of the Wicked. It just seems strange to me that they can't figure that out, because it just hurts the buyer in the end, right? Yeah.
I mean, to me, there was nothing good. The Wicked thing is a massive screw up. It's bad. To me, it's almost worse for a store to get one than to get 0, because then they have to, like, you force them to do something inventive with the one that they got. It's just an unfortunate thing. I don't know, honestly, if they allocate differently based on, like, because we have, how many, Jason? We have like maybe 5 stores or 6 stores here locally that all do Record Store Day. And if they all order them, do they only allocate like a set amount in Austin? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
I don't know. If you kiss the RSD ring, anything could happen, Joel,
Well, I mean, the reality is that record stores, a lot of them, not all of them, belong to these coalitions. And the coalition that Waterloo belongs to is the coalition that was like there at the founding of Record Store Day, right? I think they were involved with it. Yes. Don't quote me on that, but I'm fairly positive that's true. So, like, does Waterloo get favorable treatment? Possibly. I know that they order more than anybody else, so,
But if they ordered more than anybody else, they still only got 2 Wicked, right?
Yeah. That's just because they just flat out just didn't press enough. And it's not a Record Store Day thing, it's a label thing. And why they didn't press enough, I have no idea. It's dumb, right? Because logically it makes no sense. They would have made more money had they pressed more. So why they didn't, you'd have to find a record exec at that label to figure it out.
And that's one of the drawbacks for the consumer side of this, especially if you think about the demographic that really probably want that soundtrack. It's almost discouraging for them to have their heart set on getting it. And we're like, I guess like the veterans of this are kind of laughing like, oh yeah, you're here for the Wicked. Like, yeah, good luck. You're fifth in line. Good luck. And to your point, like that's a title. That was always my biggest gripe, that you press 2,000 of those for one of the biggest movies of the year with huge pop artists on. It's not going to get reissued, at least not anytime soon. Like, why not just do the 5,000? You're going to sell out. And if not, it's going to be in the bins, and it's probably eventually going to move. It's just strange to me that I don't see what the labels have, what interest they have in making that a limited pressing.
I don't know. I mean, the Wicked soundtrack, I need to look up more information about it, but the Wicked soundtrack is still in print. It's available to order. Not the one that they did for Record Store Day, which was it just a cover that was different? I don't know. I don't 100% know like what was different about it. But just the regular Wicked soundtrack is still in print.
Same track list and everything.
Let me look. I'll look it up while you all talk because I don't know.
Your concert buddy points out, depends on the distributor. AMS lines to the big two. URP buys from both and distributes as well. Ingram was actually one of my clients at work. I sent them a very heartfelt note when they were filing for bankruptcy. I was pissed. But yeah.
From Mark Boyd here in 08, the focus was independent labels, independent artists, independent shops. Corporate rock still sucks.
Well, this is what we always face. It's similar to when you're first on the scene with the indie band that you love, and then the next album they're all over and popular and in TV commercials, right? Everything's gonna get everything's gonna lose its purity at some point, especially with the way that vinyl has exploded the past decade and bringing new people into it. It's just that they have to be better prepared for the fact that they're going to be impure about things. If you're going to go commercial, like do it right.
Okay, so I just looked it up. The difference between it, obviously, the Record Store Day was limited and numbered. It was on an exclusive color, had a different cover, included a poster, and included one bonus track, not on the standard release. So it's just enough. And here's the thing. This is my gripe. They always do this with the ones targeted towards children, right? Or non-collectors, right? You're not going to find some, middle-aged man like yearning to get the Wicked soundtrack. It's going to be, a more casual audience. And this is the one they make limited. On the same year that they release things like Gracie Abrams and Taylor Swift and all the other things that all the kids are looking for, and then you make them so they can't get this one. Just, it's a shame.
Jason,
I know, Jason's laughing. I just want, like, Record Store Day should be a happy thing, right? You have enough people complaining about prices and everything else. Like, you don't want them complaining about they can't get things, right? Every year it happens where people always like, oh, there's no point in me waiting in line. I'm not going to be able to get what I want anyway. I don't want people saying that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I was one title that Chance scooped for me and shipped to me that I wanted, and I was resigned to the fact, like, I'm not going to wait in line for this. If I get it, I get it. And I got lucky, right? We kind of all help each other out. But I have that attitude, and I've had that attitude for a long time where it's like, I'm discouraged from participating or being enthusiastic about it because I'm not going through the grind. I actually would rather pay scalper price if it's not insane rather than wait online and fight through all that, because think about the people that waited online that don't know any better, right? First timers, second timers, they wait online, they don't get it, they're never coming back, they're never going through that again, and that just kind of hurts the event.
Yeah, I don't know how it is other places. I don't see evidence that people don't come back, at least here in Austin, because the crowds just keep getting bigger. It does discourage people, right? Like this year in line, I heard a lot of people talking about like is there going to be enough Taylor Swift? Is there going to be enough, because of what happened last time, or I don't know, whenever Taylor Swift had an issue. I would feel bad if someone was waiting in line only for Wicked and they're like, 50 people back.
Funny story, Joel. I think it was 2 years ago, I think. No, was it the Wolfman Remembers? We were waiting at Electric Fetus, or was it the year after Wolfman that they ran out of the Bebe Rexha, and then they made the announcement, and some poor girl like fled in tears, when they made the announcement that the Bebe Rexha RSD was sold out.
Yeah, they get everyone's hopes up, get all the hype, and then they do that. And it's a store. It's a store. It's always the store that suffers too. You know what I mean? It's not the labels or anybody else. Everyone blames the store, like the store did something wrong.
Yeah, the stores do a good job too. Like my local, they got one Swift, one Wicked, and one Oasis, and you couldn't buy it. If you bought Record Store Day titles, they put you in a raffle. If you won the raffle, then you got an opportunity right to refuse to purchase, right? And then they went to the next person if you didn't want it. So to your point, like they have to do something creative to protect themselves, but even that gives them a bad. I mean, it limits the damage, I would say, but it still gives them like a bad look. People are like, oh, well, I waited online and I can't even get it. There's that possibility too. Like if you're first and they say, yeah, we're not selling it to you, we're gonna raffle it. You're like, what? I'm here at 2 PM the day before to get it. Like, what is this about?
Exactly. You're punishing the most hardcore of your customers who did that.
I feel like with the rise of the hobby and the interest, I feel like instead of pressing more titles, they've added more titles of limited pressing. So they've increased the number of titles instead of pressing more of what people would want and having less. I mean, the list is insane every Record Store Day. It's unbelievable how long it is, and it just keeps growing.
Yeah, I mean, we'd have to talk with more stores to get their opinions on this. I mean, every year we all see things on the list and we're like, is that necessary? Do we need this? But I mean, if stores are ordering it and people are buying it, and the stores I don't hear stores complaining, or at least not the stores that I talk to. They don't seem to complain about it. But they seem to not have issues in general with number of pressings, right? It's just always these targeted, I mean, this year is just Wicked, right? I didn't hear anyone else upset about anything else.
Oasis a little bit, I think. But that's less because it's a RSD first.
Yeah.
It's going to be out in a few months.
Yeah. And we all know that's kind of like a bunch of BS anyway, because I can't tell you how many times they say, labels have said something was exclusive and then they release it later. So I don't think Record Store Day holds labels to that.
I know that, and again, you're right. Talking to the record stores would be beneficial, but even some of the stores near me, you go in and they still have like RSD clearance stuff from 2020 in the bins.
Yeah.
And it's not just picture discs and 45s. It's, standard releases. So you start to think about everything that they purchase and have to eat, because the distributor's not going to take them back. There's no more recall game like there used to be in physical media, especially on RSD titles, So that's also a gamble too. And I think, to Esposito's credit at In-Group, he's talked about like he bombed his first Record Store Day. He totally misread the market. And I'm sure there's other stores that go through that, unless they've got enough experience and they figured it out by now. But that's always a killer when you go back and see, because they're expensive for them to get, and you see them in the bins and they can't give them away.
Yeah. Absolutely. So here locally, I track it a little bit. I would love for some of these stores to like release like hard data about this kind of stuff, because I'm a nerd and I want to see that. But Waterloo, they order the maximum amount of every title, and at the end, they're down to like a couple of crates, which isn't bad considering how much they order. And I don't know offhand if they're doing something else with the titles, like selling. They can sell online. I don't know what else they may be doing with them to kind of sell them off, but they were able to sell a remarkable amount of them. But it's probably very regional and all of that. Different stores have different. I talked to another store. I've called out Waterloo a few times, but I'm not going to call out this store. They're a smaller store. They're in this area. They did Record Store Day. And he said, even though he got stuck with some titles that didn't sell, they still made a profit. So,
really?
Yeah. I don't know why I'm not sharing their name. I just don't want to put any, a bunch of people on blast or whatever. But because I asked them about it, because, I with Alliance being the primary distributor of Record Store Day and me having a little bit of I'm a customer of Alliance, but I have like a grudge against them. I asked stores to kind of, so I get ammo for my, not hatred, but whatever you want to call it, my frustratedness with Alliance. And he said, yeah, he still pulled a profit. So, and in another store locally that's down in the New Braunfels area, they said they killed it. And I know Waterloo kills it. Waterloo just makes like, oh my gosh, they must make like a metric ton of money.
That RSD was my first at Waterloo, and I waited in that line. Joel, I think I told you I was so tired. I don't remember waiting in the line. And then when I came in, it was like a madhouse. It was like there wasn't like how in Piranha, like they kind of have this path and you follow that Six Flags line through the RSD product. Waterloo was like, yeah, you can start over there. That's where the singles are, but everything's alphabetical. Good luck. And I was like, what? That person left. I was like, what? What the hell? And so like,
they
I was
just
like, all right,
let the maximum. They let the maximum amount that the fire marshal will let inside their building, and then it's just run wild. And every year it happens where they want people to wait in line to check out in an orderly manner, but people don't. People make their own lines, and then they have to wrangle it together to get people to get into a line. It's pretty funny.
Well, I think it was like worse because like you said, it was like waiting in line to pay. Like, did the concept not come like you already waited to get in? Now you have to wait in another line to pay. Like that was, yeah. I was like, oh man, like.
Well, it gives you a chance to like second guess whether you really needed that record you pulled out, Or worse, you're browsing, you're bored, you're looking around on the walls, and you're pulling more things down. That also happens.
Well, that was the thing. I think I told you, like, there was a guy in back of me. He was like, maybe I should have picked out Wynton Kelly. And that's when I looked at him like, really? Do you know who Wynton Kelly is? And he's like, maybe it has something to do with jazz. And I was just like, man, I don't think you need to pull that Wynton Kelly. Like, I don't think so, bro. Like, you don't do it. Like, just stick with. I asked him what he was buying. It was mostly metal stuff. And, I was like, don't. There's no need for the live Wynton Kelly. Leave it alone, Come on.
It's the infiltration of jazz,
So what do we like about Record Store Day?
I like it. I like everything.
Lines.
The long lines. I still like everything about Record Store Day. I love music. I love record stores. Here's the thing that I tell people every year, and everyone just calls me out on it and thinks I'm full of shit. But Record Store Day is about celebrating record stores, right? The exclusive releases is a way to tease people and get them through the door. But even if they didn't have those, I would be there at my record store, all of them. And so, I have so many stories. In fact, I made a post on my social media, a bunch of them, talking about like stories of years past and the fun things that happened at record stores over the years. The exclusive releases is like a side note to me. Because what I remember about Record Store Day every year is the conversations I had, the experience that I had going into the store. Sometimes I don't even remember what I got. Like if you asked me what I bought last year at Record Store Day, I couldn't even tell you. I have no damn clue. But I can tell you about a conversation I had in the line.
So Joel, like, what does it have to be one day? Can't they do something a little bit more consistent where it's, maybe 1 or 2 releases every other month that would draw people in, or do you think that would water it down quite a bit? And I'm not saying get rid of the event, but yeah, they do the RSD exclusives, right? But no one's waiting in line for those.
Yeah. So it's funny. I mean, if you're trying to get people to wait in line, this is what I'll say. So back in 1990, whatever, I waited at my local record store day at midnight to be one of the first in line to buy Pearl Jam's Versus when it came out. And stores used to do that back in the day. They used to have midnight releases, right? I remember we did it for a Madonna. This was later on when I worked in a record store. I remember we did it for Madonna. I can't remember who else we did it for, but it was.
I did it.
I'm thinking like Taylor Swift could do that. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry to cut you off. I did it in corporate stores. We opened at midnight. I worked for a huge retail conglomerate that was music, movies, and we opened at 12 for Jay-Z's Black Album and Metallica, Saint Anger, maybe not Saint Anger, maybe it was Saint Anger. But yeah, I'm sorry, but I'm just agreeing with you. Like we did that too, even at a corporate standpoint. It drew buzz.
Yeah, I miss that. I'm thinking like they should do that for like a Taylor Swift. They should do it for I don't know somebody. I don't know why they don't, but they do. The labels do. This doesn't go through Record Store Day, but labels do special events to try to get people out, like the Rhino. What do they call it? Let's start your ear off right or whatever. They do little things like that to try to get folks out. It's not going to make people wait in lines, but Yeah,
the thing with that too is and I love those series. Start your year off right, or the Rocktober they do, and obviously the RSD Essentials. But I think what's a little different is you can sell those online the day they come out. You could pre-order them from. I'm not picking on Mike. You pre-order them from InGroup. I can pre-order them from my store, who sells online. So there's not a need to go to the store to get them.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure like the 70th reissue of Yes Fragile is going to really like make people, freak out. Well, maybe Jason. Wait in
talking
line
about?
Shots fired.
I know. What the hell?
I'm just trying to get your attention. But yeah, it's like I listen, I think it's a great event. Like I love it too. Like every year I'm like, I'll just pass and get it online. I always wind up in the car. I'm always there at some point during the day. I'm always psyched to see the guys that own the store up near me. But the other thing I think too, I know they make profit on these releases, but I don't see a lot of people, what I observe, go get snake through the RSD line, pick up their RSD stuff, and then just go do general shopping. Like a lot of them are like in the door, out the door, and that's it. So unless they're looking for something that's like a special Grail release that they're doing that day, I don't see a lot of traffic outside of and my store is massive. You don't see a lot of people digging in the bins. It's like they're there for RSD and they're out. Now, maybe that anchors them for normal shopping days too. That becomes like the place they go. But I don't see that happening as much as I assume it would happen. And maybe because they spend their allotment on RSD titles and don't have money left for anything else. That's possible too. But
you got to be fair enough for all the people still waiting in line, right? You can't really just hang out and talk shit
later in the
Wicked,
Oh. Yeah, later in the day, because the year when I didn't line up and I just went in at 11 or noon or whatever it was, there were people just looking through the used bins. So I think that happens later in the day, but obviously, early on, people are kind of in and out.
Yeah,
mainly because they've been waiting in line all night.
Well, I was actually surprised with Waterloo. Like by the time your friends arrived to wait in line, there was like not really a line,
Yeah. Well, they move it really quick because they go to maximum occupancy. That's why it's so chaotic inside. I've seen different stores do different strategies with the way they let people in. I've seen stores do the lottery system where they pull a ticket and they let everyone in one at a time to get what they want. I've seen stores like let people write down what they want on a piece of paper and then they just go fetch it for them. I've seen stores do all kinds of crazy stuff. But Waterloo goes for the massive chaos. That's the system they go for.
I just want to shout out to the Rev here. He's saying he worked at the Deegan record store. He was tied to a chair on his 19th birthday, and 2 strippers danced as the store cheered. True story. I want pictures, Rev. Come on.
So that kind of speaks to a point you were making a few minutes ago about what should they do to spread this out across the entire year. And it doesn't have anything to do with Record Store Day. What it has to do with is just the record store culture. You know, stores need to put some effort in to creating a culture. Stories like what Rev talked about, that's, on the employee side, but, they just need to build a community. And then you'll get people coming in all year long. This is what I think, some of the record store owners that are YouTubers like Dylan and the guy, the Too Many Records guy up in Portland, and even Mike. I did go into Mike's store when I was driving through Phoenix one time on my way to Vegas, and he was there. I didn't go and talk to him or anything, but anyway, you can build a community, and that's what's going to bring people in.
Yeah, I worked at a corporate store from the time I was 16 through college, so 22, 23, and even in a corporate environment, we had a culture there. Like, we had 2 or 3 dozen people. Any one of them would pop in for an hour or two, even if they weren't going to buy anything, and just hang out, listen to music, talk. And that was like in a mall, middle America, suburban America. And that was getting done. So I agree with you too, because even when and record stores were scarce at that time in my area when I was in that range. But there were 2 stores that, same thing as kids, like we would go there just to chill. And we didn't cause any trouble. We didn't steal. We would just ask the older guys, like, what do we listen to? Like, turn us on to the new thing. And I think what you're bringing up is really important, because that's the lifeblood of any kind of small business, right? Restaurant, salon, record store, whatever. You got to have that communal thing. And especially in such a hobby or an interest where it's a lot of word of mouth and historical knowledge that you share with people. Like, you pass it along. Like, once that dies, that makes it difficult to bring people in. And you bring it in through things like RSD, which is just driven by consumerism, right? Not necessarily by the music all the time. So I think you bring up a valid point, and I agree with you. It's just hard to pull that off, I think.
Yeah. I worked in several corporate record stores back in the day. I haven't worked in an indie one yet, except for my own. But I worked at Sam Goody, always had a great time. I worked at Blockbuster Music, which was a store where they had a listening station in the middle of the store, and they would let you could bring any CD in the entire store, sealed or not, and they would let you listen to it. I spent so many hours. I worked there too, but even when I didn't work there, I was hanging out there just taking CDs off the shelf, listening to them. And then across the street from there was a used CD store called CD Source. They probably thought I wanted to live there for as much time as I spent in there. And then I worked at Tower Records, and Tower Records was a blast working there. Like, we made lifelong friends with the people that worked there. So yeah, I mean, record store, I will say that, you don't get that same kind of thing in the indie record stores, at least locally. Like, I've never gone to Waterloo just to hang out. But it would be nice if we could do that. I've seen the way Dylan has his store set up, where he's got like some couches and stuff like that. None of the stores here have that, but if they did, I could imagine maybe going and hanging out or something.
As Breakaway, they have like seating, I guess.
They do. I mean, they have a seat where the listening station is, but
it's like in the other room where the buybacks, there's actually like this seating, whatever, like some love chair.
I had when I worked in that store, I mean, a lot of the people I'm still friends with, I met at that music store. And then we'd have like regulars that would come in and like we would trade burnt CDs or, trade albums or whatever, to the point where like I left that job and I was bartending, and like two of the people that used to come in the store found out I was bartending, and like they would come in to visit me when I served and like have a beer and spend like 4 hours picking up those conversations that we had when they used to come to the music store. It's pretty fantastic. So yeah, you gotta find a way to be to have a catalyst for that. It goes a long way.
Yeah, they got to hire because I think one of the things with indie record stores that just made me think about this is that because they're smaller, a lot of them don't have, a lot of employees, and maybe some of the employees they do have, I'm older, right? So I don't really want to sit around and talk with a 16-year-old about what music they're into. But back in the day, I did. I would go, you'd meet the people at the store. You got to know their taste, and you go in there and get recommendations, and you'd share things with them. We had this guy that worked at Blockbuster. They had a special room for classical music, and classical music's okay. But he was so knowledgeable. I mean, this guy was a genius. Like, he knew everything. And I would just sit and talk for hours with him about classical music. I don't remember any of it anymore, but it was fun at the time,
Yeah.
But yeah.
The Rev here is saying that the tower was a black hole for all new big releases. When they came out, we would literally drive and beg for more.
Yeah. I mean, people complain. I mean, a big issue for record stores, and we're getting a little off topic here, but is the fact that they can't return, unsold stock. Any percent of it, right? Everything you buy is like you're just stuck with it. And that hurts record stores more than you could believe. And my personal desire is for the record stores with power, like Waterloo has power, Amoeba has power, the In-Groove has power. They need to be pushing back on this, and because what's happening on the distributor side of things is that all the distributors are not wanting to take on new accounts, right? So they're pushing everyone towards the one-stop shops like Alliance, and the more that happens, the more stores need to be pushing back on it, on being able to return unused stock, because I don't know how stores do it, but like when you're a small store, you can't be buying like 20 copies of a new release, because you're just going to get stuck and you're going to end up in the hole, and it's like shoppers don't think about that, but it's a very real issue. And if you could return unused stock, you wouldn't have to have that worry. You could give me all the new releases, all of them, and then I could just choose which one, see which ones sell and then send it back.
Why don't you think they haven't pushed back? Because it's been 2008. We're now 2025.
I mean, I have some guesses. I think it's because a lot of the older record stores, they have the better accounts, right? Like, they have an account with Red Eye. They got an account with UMG, or, wherever they're getting all their major label stuff from. And so they're not necessarily using Alliance outside of Record Store Day, or at least not using them a lot. Whereas a new record store has to, because, Red Eye and all these other places won't give you an account.
Well, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
It sounds like a competition issue to a certain extent. Because why would Alliance strive to be? And I'm not picking on Alliance. Why would any distributor strive to be better? They don't have to. To your point, with the pressure, and it kind of has another. I have another thought about this. I know this kind of happens in a stealth way, but there's the official RSD, but I think there also has to be a coalition that comes in on RSD and has their own list and gets stores involved with alternative releases. I know, like, let's say Third Man doesn't participate officially, right? And I don't know if there's other labels that don't, or whatever, other situations that don't participate officially, but those groups should come together, and when RSD has their list in their day, they should come right alongside with them and say, this is the alternative RSD list, and maybe foster some competition within the space to maybe shake things up a little bit. Keep Alliance more honest. Maybe do something creative, because if you have competition, it's just going to make things better. It's not going to destroy anything.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard, right? Because RSD gets you so much free marketing, or I don't know how free it is, but they get all that marketing. You know, you'd have to have someone else that was able to have that same sort of power to do like an alternative. We see that here locally with South by Southwest. You know, you have the, you know, not to be so Austin centric, but you know, you have the official South by Southwest and then the unofficial South by Southwest. The official just gets more press, and it's a lot of heavy lifting to get the unofficial events to get that same sort of attention. It'd be the same thing for Record Store Day, and that's even more niche than, you know, something like South by Southwest.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Yeah.
But I agree. I mean, to me, I'm of the opinion that, you know, are there some expensive records? Yes. Do I think Wicked should have been $60? No. I bought the Wire LP, and that was like $56.99 or something. Do I think it should have been that? No. But I also bought some Record Store Day stuff that was in the 20s, like $24.99 and stuff like that. And I think those are fair prices. I think, you know, it even depends on how much you buy, but I think it kind of evens itself out. I don't think the prices are that insane. I think it's more to do with, and I'm not trying to get political, but it's more to do with our economy here, where people are just hurting. They don't have enough money. So, you know, if you don't have like a bunch of disposable income, even a $30 record is going to seem insane to you. True. You know, whereas if we could just fix our economy and people get paid, you know, anyway, I'm not going to get too political, but I think that's what it is. You know,
records are a luxury item.
Yeah,
for the most part, especially new records.
Yes,
they are a luxury item.
Yeah, and people don't seem to know how to have any kind of self-control. They think they need to have all of the records. Like I found 20 things on my list that I want. I had to buy all 20 of them. Why did they have to be so expensive? It's like, just buy fewer. It's not going to be the end of the world. You know what I mean? You'll be able to get them later. You know, back in the day, what I used to do when I was even broker than I am now was I would sell things to fund buying new things, because I just wanted to. For me, I just had this insatiable thirst to discover more, to listen to more. So like I was like churning things out. I would go and sell 10. You know, this is. You know, in that between time when there weren't a whole lot of vinyl coming out. So I was, you know, I'd sell 10 CDs to be able to buy, you know, 3 or 4 or 5 more. And that's just kind of what you had to do. And it probably wouldn't be a bad thing if people would use their local stores to sell stuff. Go through your collection, see if there's something you're not listening to. Go sell it, and then use that money to buy something new.
Yeah.
Someone wrote something in chat that had me cracking up. It went, I don't know if you, the Vinyl Dreamscape wrote, I used to steal cassette tapes out of the corporate mall record store as a teenager. I never got caught, but it burdens my soul now.
I didn't see that, Sean.
Cracking me out here.
Sean, which cassettes? We can beg for forgiveness in this chat, right?
That's cracking me up, man. Just called the cops. That's funny.
I know, Rav here. Get out.
Yeah, I mean, and do I wish, you know, people every year for Record Store Day, people say, you know, why is there all this focus on major label stuff? Why can't they get some more indie stuff? And it's obvious. Because back in the day when they had more indie stuff, the lines weren't as long, because the more indie you go, the less people are going to know what it is. And let's be honest, you know, I don't know the numbers, and I don't, you know, I think it'd be impossible to get. But if you made a pie chart of the total amount of music listeners in the world, and then try to figure out what tiny slice of that are people that are actively searching for new things that they don't already know, it's probably very small. So people aren't generally going to Record Store Day trying to discover something new. You know, they're just, you know. So I think it would hurt Record Store Day to do that. Just like, like Jason, we've seen how it's hurt South by Southwest to do that, right? They stopped bringing in the big artists. Now the crowds get smaller, and then people say South by Southwest is dead. And it's like, why do you think that is? Because they stopped bringing in the big artists. You know what I mean? You need a mix of both. You know, it's not a bad thing. Yeah. So here's the thing. So Herkimer put that one that he put up there about the wire. I'm gonna say this, okay? About first of all, the wire RSD drop was really, really cool because previously you had to have the 7 inches, which are really pricey. So the fact that they released it at all was great. The bio vinyl thing, listen, I listened to the wire. It sounds great. I have some techniques back here. I have a Fluence in the other room. I don't have some like, $30,000, setup or whatever, but the wire sounded great. Now, I think the Billie Eilish, whatever the name of that album was, that was on bio vinyl that sounded like shit, gave bio vinyl a really bad name. But I have other things on bio vinyl. On You Sound, Adrian Sherwood's label, they press all their stuff on recycled vinyl. I don't know if that's the same thing as bio vinyl, but they sound great. The wire sounds great. Just because like you heard some record on bio vinyl doesn't mean that all bio vinyl is shit. And that's my little rant there. I'm gonna say about that. Just like people complain about color vinyl, people complain about picture discs, you're going to find some that sound good and some that don't sound good. It's just the kind of the way it goes.
Well, I think it'd be great for recycled vinyl, kind of like you don't want to have all that. My personal favorites, Perry Como, Andy Williams,
Okay,
Pete
listen,
Fontaine
Nathaniel Mars, can you ban him? No more 3-inch offerings. Ban him. We don't want any of that shit.
Wolfman's big on that. He was all ready to buy that stuff at the fetus, so. Oh my gosh. So, that wire came out on the 7-inch box, right? I looked that up, I can't believe that thing is selling between 150, 200. It just blew my mind. I was like, what?
Well, the thing is, because now you're starting to get into the topic of scout or what do you call it, flippers or whatever. People wouldn't do it if people weren't buying. And people just have to stop doing that. It's the same thing with concert tickets. Just, I know it's painful and you don't want to deal with it, but don't give in, don't buy it, and then eventually they'll give up and stop doing it.
Or I don't think they're going to give up, right?
So back in the day when I worked at Tower, let me tell you this, there was this lady, in Tower, we had a little Ticketmaster booth or whatever they called it. I think it was a Ticketmaster booth. And we had this lady that would come in. This was back in the day before the internet when you had to like go to a place to buy the ticket for the shows that you wanted. And this lady, she owned this company that resold tickets. And she would be first in line, and whenever like Metallica's coming to town, and she would go and just buy like just a ton of those tickets, and then go and sell them. And this lady's family, it was like a family business. They were rich beyond belief by doing that, and the internet's only made it worse. But I always hated that lady. I don't know why I brought it up, just to point out the fact that I hated that lady. And I told her, I was like, "You need to stop this. This is horrible what you're doing."
And what did she say?
She just said, whatever, I'm making money. I don't remember exactly what she said, but she obviously didn't give two shits about what my opinion was.
She's like, whatever, I'm going to have the Wicked one day, and you're going
to
want
it. Yeah. But there's been scalpers and flippers since, the fact is it's capitalism, you know what I mean? So, you either deal with it or you just whine about it on the internet. Like I just did.
Can anyone shout out the most obvious, very best AAA and RSD? I missed everything. Man, It's tough.
What do you mean by AAA? I mean, like major label thing?
No. I think all analog, you know.
Oh, I don't give a shit about all that stuff. You want to see me rant? Wait, start talking to me about all analog.
Joel, yeah, let's
Bernie
hold that.
Grunman, whatever the fuck. I don't care.
Let's hold that on the next thing, right? Next topic, right? Do mastering engineers matter? And then that'll really piss people off. We'll hold that.
If you want to know what the very best AAA was, go look at Mike Espinizo's channel or whatever his name is. He'll tell you about what it was.
I say like maybe one of the best was probably that Pharaoh, even though it didn't sound good. I will do a shootout video on it. Like when it's free jazz, it should just like hit you hard, but for some reason the highs were muted on it. So it, I think Arnaldo's joke. That's all I can think of. Why wasn't the jazz free? I just can't even go there. Jeez. But I did enjoy the Queen. I did play that on my stream, and that thing sounded great. But anything dealing with a half speed is not going to be all analog,
I didn't even get through my RSD pile fully yet, but I was pleasantly surprised about the Cowboy Junkie.
Well, I mean, other than Mark here,
what did Cowboy Junkies release?
It was like a live thing, right?
It wasn't live. It wasn't live. It was acoustic. It was called Acoustic Junk. It was pretty cool. It sounds amazing. I had it on the other night and played it a couple of times. Just kept on flipping it over and over.
Welcome VU meters.
I remember seeing that.
I passed on this and I regret it. It was on my list and I didn't get it. I reached my threshold. I said, I don't know if I really need this. Now I'm kicking myself.
There were plenty of those at Piranha, but I think I was tired after, going to 5 record stores that day. So Joel, I went to Waterloo. That's where I met you. Then after that, I went to Antone's. Nobody was there at Antone's. It was empty. And I was looking around like it was like a ghost town. And I remember telling them RSD when it's peaceful. And then Eve, right, one of the owners was like, oh, you missed it. There was a huge line. I'm like, I don't want to hear about that. Jeez. But I could tell, I was asking her questions. Hey, did you get this? Looks like you're done with the Oasis. She's like, we only got one. It's gone. I'm like, oh, okay. So after that.
I think sorry, Jay, go ahead.
After that, I went to, I'm trying to think here. I think I went to Love Wheel and it was empty there and that was fine. And then I made the mistake of going to Breakaway and they had a line there, and I think the guy there at Sam or Sean, he was just like, hey, what's up, man? And and I was like, I think I'm going to wait in this line. He's just laughing. He's like, And it was they hadn't opened yet, and I was like, oh man, this is going to be rough,
That's how smart shoppers do it. They see when because we have staggered openings, so people figure out, I didn't get up early enough to go wait at Waterloo or Veneer, so I'm going to go wait in the Waterloo line. And then Drinks Lounge, their record store, they didn't open up till 4 p.m.
I had no idea.
4 p.m.
So they're a bar with a record store attached to it, and so they open up the record store at 4 p.m. But they opened up the bar at noon, and they said, "Hey, you come to the bar, you get a number, and then you can just hang out and drink. And then at 4 p.m. we'll call everyone in an order to get their record store stuff, their record store day stuff." That's a brilliant for in Austin, for as much as people like to drink, and that was a pretty brilliant idea. I kind of wondering how well they did.
Shout out to Ellie Cruz, major amateur VC influencer. Watch out, heads up.
A major amateur VC influencer.
I know, right? Man.
I think the sleeper pick of RSD this year was the Sister Nancy. I don't know why, but not enough people weren't hyped on that, man.
I didn't see that at Waterloo, Joel. I did not see that. And it only popped up to me when I went to Breakaway. And I asked Josh, the owner, like, hey, where's that sensor Nancy? And then he looked at me, he's like, don't worry, we got you. And then like some guy raced, picked one up and gave it to me, and he's like, we're well stocked on this one. And I was like, because I told him like I forgot to get, but I didn't say this out loud, but I was like, man, I forgot to get that at Waterloo. Like I didn't see it. Like I just forgot about it. But I was glad to pick that up. But I didn't want to hang out like we were talking about because there was still a line out there, I didn't want to be rude or anything.
Yeah, you're very anti being rude.
Oh, we didn't piss anybody off, Joel. Groove Seeker, any last thoughts? Did we go hard on this? Any last thoughts on RSD? Did we?
I'm looking at my notes. Look, it's a good thing, and we have to remember, and I always say this in every discussion we have, it's and I think Joel put this very well. RSD is really not for the VC. It's for the record store, right? And it's for people that are coming into the hobby, right? It's really no pun intended, tailored for them. And we just got to take it with a grain of salt when we get all up in arms about what should be pressed, what shouldn't be pressed, without being having our biases come through based upon what we like. I do think that this Wicked thing was a travesty because it, like Joel said, it impacted kids. It's like when Taylor Swift put out Tortured Poets, and she put out, I had to walk into the store with my daughter, and she had to choose which cover she wants and which bonus track she wants, and she can't have all four. It's kind of like the same vibe I get with this RSD thing. Like if you're going to do something targeted like that, you gotta don't make it so discouraging for people. And I just hope the stores get taken care of. I hope they figure that out, where they make it easier on the stores, whether it's pressing more, whether it's giving them a better heads up on what they're going to get, or if they press enough, get everybody a shot to sell it, and educate people like, hey, this is going to be a tough title to get. Because I'm also sure that the people who are getting into RSD don't really know that 2,000 isn't a lot. They probably don't know anybody else that collects records, or maybe one person. So there's a lot of education has to get done. As far as the commercialism of it, like it's just a natural occurrence. Like Joel said, it's capitalism. Like it's the same as like your indie band getting big, or things changing over time, and it's not what it used to be, but that's just going to happen. So that's my takeaways on RSD. I'm certainly not going to ever boycott it, but I don't get too hyped on it anymore.
Oh man, the RSD dream is over. Jeez, man. Joel's phone is about to die. Dang. Oh, yeah, that Jayhawks was actually good. That was great. 2,000 copies of Kenny G. Did it actually come out on RSD? I think so, right?
I'm not sure.
People thought the Kenny G. Joel, if you're still on here, the name of your shop. Well, what do I think about RSD? I don't know. I got up at 6. It wasn't early enough, supposedly. There were free donuts and coffee at Waterloo. Psh, that's actually amazing. And supposedly if I got early at Piranha, he gives free breakfast tacos, which I've never been around for that. That's awesome. But yeah, I'd never seen that happen. But I want to thank my guest here, the Groove Seeker. I want to thank Joel. Joel, hopefully we went hard enough for Stunty. Maybe not. But Joel's going to come back and you get that charger. Man.
Well, if we're going to wait for Joel, Jason, what would you do to improve RSD?
What would I do to improve it? Well, I have to get my friend Mr. Doom here. I don't know if he's still watching. The way that Plaid Records has their setup, where I guess like you fill out a list, you get a number, they will text you or whatever when you're ready and your stuff is ready. That makes it a lot easier. So you're not really waiting in line and all this mumbo jumbo, right? Like you just had to wait in line to fill in the list, right? And, get the call back. That's probably the smartest way, and probably guarantee that you'll get, some of the titles that you're looking for, Oh man, Quick Spec was joking about that Kenny G, but you never know, Quick Spec, that Kenny G and Warren G thing they were doing on, I think, the Tonight Show or something. Like, if that was on a 7-inch, that would sell, Let's look at some of the comments here. Zoetrope Starship. Actually, Mark Boyd, it actually, like I joked with a couple people on Record Store Day, maybe live Bill Evans 2 LP picture disc,
Cut at 78 RPM.
That's right. Jeez. Oh man, but I don't think people would get it, Mondo. Like, I don't know. Elliot, here's some really good releases, unrelated RSD coming out at the same time. Like, that is true. Very true. Joel saying Kenny G slaps hard. Well, I'm surprised, like, Kenny G never did, like, his hip-hop record, Come on. Ain't nothing but a G thing, right? Kenny G. Like, come on. It's a missed opportunity. If you have a name like that, come on.
Yeah, he needs a new agent.
I'm still surprised that the Wicked sold. But I'm glad that person who got it, but I mean, she showed up at, I think, the Friday, like at noon, or something like that. It was crazy.
Did she show up just for that?
They have her picture with it, for sure.
Wow.
I'm hoping that she did buy some other stuff,
It's funny because I would never consider buying it. I saw it on the list. I didn't even think it was gonna make. I was like, oh, that's cool, Wicked. And then the next day, Record Store Day on eBay by 10 in the morning, I was seeing it for like $400 or $500. I'm like, is this going to be a big deal? And then obviously following up with the news.
Correct.
Warren G.
Heather B. Jeez.
Wow.
Oh man, Egyptian Lover. Good stuff. Well, that's good. I hope she did buy some other records because she was the first. Again, I was kind of shocked that Waterloo took a picture of her, But, kudos to her. I have nothing wrong with that, She got what she wanted. That's,
Did she get the Oasis too?
I have no idea.
She's like, I got the Wicked and Oasis so I could have spend money for the next decade for Record Store Day.
That's right. Just gonna take a picture of both and be like, check me out on my next, my upcoming eBay or whatnot auction, at noon today. Like, what? Oh, man, that's crazy. Oh, jeez, get out of here. I had streamed the Sister Nancy before it became a RSD release, but like that doesn't matter, jeez. RSD is okay, but it's just for someone else. I wish they'd make an effort to release more albums like the Craig Smith. I don't think that actually came out, Sean. I asked around and it never, I think they canceled it. I didn't see it. I even checked with the UK RSD. It was not for sale. So, but I know they did it like a couple years ago. They released it, but maybe not for RSD, I did not. I did see some people buy it though. That is correct. So I bought the Moody Blues. Let me go get it. It's just over here. So give me a pause here, Groove Seeker.
Looks like Concert Buddy hit up Dark Side. They had the Hives and the Keen. Yeah, I saw that. So Ross, you got this on Dusty Grooves? You got this on Dusty Grooves?
Yeah, I went to Dusty Grooves' website to get the Moody Blues, the lost sort of 1966 sessions, which would have been their 66 album. I streamed it on Sunday. The B-side's really good. All those tracks I'd never heard before, and they weren't gonna make them any money. Let's say this, like they were not. Those tracks sounded unique, but not enough to be hit singles. But it was actually, this is a cool release, actually. You know.
Is it
That's when they
limited?
still had. What's up?
Is it limited?
I don't think so.
Good.
So let me see if I can show it better. Oh, ain't
Very
focusing. There we go.
Yeah, I didn't think it was bad. I thought it was pretty cool, but it's definitely a B-side album. I know.
Yes.
You know, so, but if you're a collector of the Moody Blues, which there are people that are, that's something cool that you want to have. Or if you're a collector of that era of music, for sure.
Nice. Good question for Vinyl Dreamscape. Did you find the Craig Smith book? I do have it, I think. Somewhere. I don't know if Joel's coming back.
I don't think he is if he's in the chat.
No.
Well, Mr. Rojas, another stellar episode of the VC Social Club.
Yes. We'll end it here for now. We'll see you next Monday. Maybe we'll talk about, the evils of mastering engineers. Oh, Joel.
He's back.
He's back. Sort of. Sean. We'll give Joel a couple minutes. One of the interesting things about RSD was that I was waiting in a line with a guy that was about 60 years old, and he was telling me all these great stories about meeting like Stevie Ray Vaughan, Rocky Erickson, Little Richard. Like, he just kept on going. And he was like, yeah, David Lee Roth. I'm like, wait a minute. He was like, Van Halen. I'm like, when did you see them? He was like, saw them in 79, 80, 84. Then I was like, 84. You saw them during that tour. And he was like, yeah, it was kind of amazing when David Lee Roth was still flexible and, he could back his words. I'm like, oh, jeez. And then he asked me, did you ever see Van Halen? I said, yeah, I saw him on the reunion tour. It was so bad. Like, David Lee Roth had to sit down, and catch his breath. And that's not how I want to remember David Lee Roth. I want to remember him kicking up in the air and, jumping, jump, get it? Come on. But he is tired, now I was dealing with old David Lee Roth, Man.
Now he's like Hop,
I know, right? Jeez.
Skip.
Okay. You made it back in. Let me add him. Do you see Joel? I don't see him. Do you see him?
I see him, yeah.
All right, so maybe I need to jump off and I'll come back in. Give me a second here.
Hey.
You take over, Groove Seeker.
I'll take over.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you, yeah. Welcome back.
It's kind of funny for all the people that don't like Record Store Day or say it's not for them. They always qualify it with, I wish they would release, X, and X is like whatever they want. So I think everyone is just like one RSD release away from loving Record Store Day again.
I always say I love it when it's convenient for me.
Yeah.
It's it's like this past one, there wasn't anything that was like blowing me away, but there was a ton of stuff I wanted. I was like, oh, I'd like to have, all of these, and I got them. And I actually had to stop on my list. I'm like, I can't have all of these. So it was the first time in a long time where I just left stuff at the store. But then there's been record stores I've gotten like 2 things, like I'm content with it, but I don't go like bashing it because it was a bad run for me.
Yeah.
What would you do? I asked Jason. I think you heard it because you're in the chat. What would you do to make it better? I know we talked about some of this, but is there anything else that you would try to do that's out of the box or we haven't spoken about?
I mean, if it were up to me, if the Record Store Day organization is gatekeeping what gets released, I wish they would. If a label tries to do a thing like they did with Wicked or any of the other issues that they had in the past, that they would just block them. They'd be like, okay, if you're only going to do 2,000 of Wicked, no thanks. We're not going to do it. We're not even going to advertise it. And they would just block it, right? Because I would rather people not even know about it than for them to get screwed out of what they want. So I wish they would police that a little bit better.
That's a really good idea. One of the things that I thought would be cool, and I'm sure logistically it'd be a nightmare, but do you remember when they were doing the Run Out Groove series where you can go on the site and vote for 3 titles?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I wish they would do something where like the official RSD release was like a fan vote, right? And you put up 3 titles and everybody votes on it, and then that comes out, with some of 10,000 copies they press or whatever it is, or 15,000, whatever the demand is. I think that would be cool to get people engaged. And then if you wanted to do something creative with that, you could make like color variants that are limited. So if you get to the store early, you get the color variant if you want it, or you get the standard thing. I think they could pull that off, and they have plenty of time, especially with the way they rush some of this stuff out. Because that's the other thing we didn't talk about that I'm big on. If you watched any of the streams I'm on with Jason, is the quality control issues on some of these RSD titles are atrocious. Like they don't deserve to be released because they're in such bad shape, and it seems like they rush them out. So that's another issue I have with this overall, is that there's no outlet for it. It's not like the manufacturers are holding 50 back to help people that have defective copies. It's like, it's defective, go to the store and get a refund. So that's another concern I have too.
Yeah, I've definitely run into that. It's just kind of like, I just chalk it up to like one of the things we have to deal with, because I've noticed quality control issues, not just with RSD, just with releases in general, because I get a lot of new albums and I listen to them and I see little things that I like, not just with the vinyl. I wish labels would put more effort into their packaging. Like sometimes they don't even put an inner sleeve. It's like, come on, man. Like, just pretend like you care about the music you own. Like, put some care into the sleeve a little bit.
Do you see an uptick like the past 2 years in QC issues? Because that's been my experience.
I mean, I definitely see an uptick in people complaining about QC issues online. It's still a small percentage for me of things that I see. And sometimes I see things and I just don't even like, I'm like, whatever. It's, I don't get upset about it. It's always the same thing, right? It's always like the track that's the last one closest to the inner groove. There's issues with it. It's always little things like that. Every once in a while you see a record with like a big scuff across it, like, things like that. And, I don't know if I could say it's happened more lately than not. It would be nice. I will say this. On a few times I've ordered records from distributors and had them come empty, like just a sleeve with no record in them.
What?
Yeah, that's happened a few times. I also had one where it was 2 sleeves and 1 record, one empty sleeve inside the same shrink wrap and things like that. And it's like, okay, are you guys even looking? Are you even trying? Because the one that has no record in it, like, you can tell it doesn't weigh the same, So, but it's just one of those things. I mean, listen, I I don't know how many years ago that I thought like, okay, the vinyl resurgence is going to die. People are going to want to haul these things around. People are going to get issues with dealing with calibrating their turntables. You know, like the first time your needle dies, like if you're brand new to vinyl, the first time your needle needs to be replaced, they're not going to know how to do it, and they're just going to give up on the hobby, and they're going to go back to CDs. And it hasn't happened, right? It just keeps getting bigger and bigger. So, you know, something's keeping people around, you know.
I guess the price is not dissuading people.
Yeah. This is my theory. I honestly think there's a very, very large percentage, and I'm just pulling this out of my ass because I don't know how you get this data. I think the majority of people that buy records aren't actually listening to them. They're just decoration. You know, and I think, you know, they're just like, you know, like a collector's thing, and they're still streaming, right? They're like, I'm gonna listen to the album on Spotify, but look, I'm a fan because look, I got the record here, you know?
Yeah, I agree with that.
And I don't have a problem with it. I really don't. I don't care.
Oh.
As long as it keeps it alive, you know?
Well, there was an article that came out, what, a year ago or a year and a half ago that said that half the people they surveyed that buy records don't own a turntable, right?
Yeah.
So I'm in the same camp as you. I have no problem with it because if we don't have that 50%, guess what we don't have?
Yeah.
A hobby. So it's like whoever's buying it, you know, that's cool with me.
I think stores should be helping people set up their turntables, you know, putting a lot of effort into that, teaching people, because it is not a, you know, it's not a just put the CD in and press play thing. You know, you got to learn how to handle your turntable, no matter what kind of turntable it is that you have. You know,
it's a great way to drive foot traffic to a store too. You have like a once a month, turntable workshop for an hour, and you give them, you know, a discount on turntable or a discount on records just to get traffic in store. That goes back to your community comment, right?
Yeah. That's actually brilliant, dude. That's a brilliant idea. Hey, bring your turntable in on this day. We'll hook you up with a new needle. We'll recalibrate your turntable, get you all set up, and you can take it back home. Actually, that's brilliant.
Can you imagine Michael Fremer doing that?
I would go to that just to see Michael Fremer do that. I wouldn't even bring my turntable.
You bring him that, you know, you bring him, what's the cheap one? You bring him that.
Crosley.
The Crosley, and then Michael Fremer will make that bad joke, right? You know, I've met Crosley, Stills, and Nash before, and then he'll take your turntable and just like smash it. You know? You're like, Michael Fremer, what are you doing? You know?
Well, Joel, I take my my table to my dealer when I need something, and what should take 15 minutes takes me 4.5 hours because I sit there and talk to him about gear or whatever. So that's a little community thing in itself.
Yeah,
you know, the store does need to replicate that. My local dark side, they actually pride themselves in turntable setup and specialization in a couple of different product lines, which is cool. And they also do something really cool where they have maybe like 3 or 4 different like all-in-one starter packages that they do. So it'll be like a project, like kind of like what Turntable Lab does. I don't know if you know that site. They give you 2 bookshelves and a turntable with a phono pre, and they're like, if you need a starter kit, here you go. And they give you like 3 free records with it. So I think more stores need to do that as well. But to your point, there are a lot of store owners probably can't operate gear, right? They, you know, I've been in stores where they just like throw their record on turntable, it's all busted, and they don't care. They're just there playing the music. So
Infinity Records.
Here locally, Breakaway does that. They pair up like turntables that they've repaired with speakers and receivers that they've repaired. Innoveneer does that too, I think. Right there, that back room with gear. Waterloo just sells like the Audio Technica and all that kind of stuff. Which, you know, I wish Waterloo would put some effort into that. Maybe when they move and they got that new store, they can put some effort into it. Obviously, you know, the in-group does, you know, I just don't think high end gear is the way to go. You know what I mean? Like I got all of my family members of even the kids. You know, just some like a Fluence with some powered speakers, and it's cheap, right? It's like $500, probably a little less than that. And they have something that'll work, right? It's perfect for kids. It's low maintenance, and they're Bluetooth, so they can hook their phone up to it to stream things if they want to. You know, it's
Yeah,
not going to be audiophile or whatever. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say I think Fluence makes a great product.
Yeah, it's just the one that I like, and it's kind of and it's on the, it's not super expensive. So yeah, and it's a little bit better than the Audio Technicas and all the things. We don't really have anyone that sells Project locally, or at least I don't think we do.
No, but I thought I saw one at that audiophile shop that's like down South Austin. I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah,
I went there once.
I think all the stores should partner with the local audio shop to like partner them up with them for gear repairs and setups and stuff.
I don't know who they use for a breakaway. They have some guy, right?
Yeah, I think they have someone internal that works on it at Breakaway.
You're saying like the record store refers them to the gear, like the gear store?
I don't know. Well, Breakaway's been doing it for a long time. They have all kinds of gear that they've repaired. I don't know if it's someone in house or whether they shop that out. I know Innoveneer does. I don't. Innoveneer shops theirs out. I don't know to who, but yeah, stores should partner up, right? They don't need to take it all on themselves. Just partner up with a local company, you know.
Yeah, because if you think eating money on unsold records is tough, eating money on unsold equipment is 10x that.
Yep. It's funny. I sold Breakaway. I sold my Vestax DJ turntables to them, and there was like this added attachment to the tone arm that keeps it steady. And then they were asking me about it, and I was like telling them, "Don't remove that. Whatever you do, do not do that." Like I showed them how it works. I'm like, don't remove it. You sell it with this thing on here. It'll keep it steady, you know? And then he's like, what are the other features? I'm like, are you ready? And it plays records backwards, you know? Like we can get closer, you know, to the evil on that record. And they were like, whoa. And I'm like, okay, that's enough. Like, I don't want to do, like I just have too many turntables. I hate to say it, Joel, you know?
Hey, I don't know if you can have too many. I have 4. I have one in like every room of my house because I'm an idiot. And all of my family members all have at least one. It's just kind of one of those things. But I mean, that's what you need, right? I mean, this is why I don't know if you remember when they did Cassette Store Day. It's like none of that stuff's ever going to take off because you can't find a good cassette player, and CDs aren't going to make a true revival until you can get a CD player, you know, or they put CD players back in cars. You know, CDs aren't going to make a revival because sure, there are a lot of people that get records for decoration because they make good decoration, but CDs don't. So, you know, you got to get CD players.
Wolfman here's got a question. Does it get more RSD than that RSD release that was just field recordings of record stores? You mean field recordings of people waiting in line for RSD, Wolfman? There you go.
Wait, was that really a thing?
Oh, man.
Because I want that if that's a thing. Someone send me a link.
Just refer customers to a side gig vintage equipment guy. You know, there is one guy I know about, Joel. He has like a sort of like online, but you have to know him through Instagram. That dude's like super busy all the time. I wanted to send him the mixer that I bought from a guy in Steubenville, Ohio, and it's the same mixer that I think we talked about this, the Wu-Tang Clan used when they lived in Ohio. I own the mixer. But
what?
You didn't know this? And then like some of the channels don't work. But all the channels are numbered after, you know, they have stickers and they're like named after days, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I believe like Wednesday never worked or Friday never worked, but everything else works. It's like an 8-track Fostex. I'll take pictures. I'll send it to you.
How did you get? What's the story here?
Well, the uncle, I guess that kid's uncle was recording them back before, they hit it big or whatever. And of course, they moved on, right? They moved to New York City and hit it big, But the guy still had the mixer. So now I own the mixer.
Wow.
It probably should go to a museum, And maybe I should get it signed by the guys,
Hey, I got tickets to see them when they come to Austin.
Nice.
So
Their last tour, I was like, I'm not missing this.
I've seen them. They're worth.
If you meet them, ask them about the mixer.
I'll be like, hey, you mind coming over to my buddy Jason's house to find his mixer?
Right, and they'll be like, how can we beat this Jason guy and take that mixer back? That's Wu-Tang history. He should know that.
If I get a video of Raekwon and Ghostface Killer doing a shootout of like a Moody Blues, mono pressing, and you have the mixer there, I'm gonna be jealous. The night Rojas proved that the RL is underrated to Raekwon the chef.
Right. He's gonna be like, no, I agree with you, Rojas. This RL's terrible. Mastering engineer. All right.
Rojas will be the first VC member to be referenced on the upcoming hip hop track. They're working into their lyrics somehow.
Well, supposedly I'm on like my friend who DJ'd this guy, Quest. That's not his name. Damon Dotson. He did like a hip hop record and then he's like shouting me out, but they didn't want to put it out. I don't know. Maybe one day it'll come out. Chopped and screw mix. All right. Well, Joel, here it is. I'll put this in the...
No Artist Record Store Record, 2011. I don't remember this.
Bring it up.
Can you bring it up, Groove Seeker? Oh my gosh, this can't be real.
I'm telling you right now, I'm going to order it right now. I'm going to find it. There's 4 for sale in America.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can fire this up.
I love how they're selling it for $15 and they're like, make an offer. Like, I'm good with 15. That'll work.
You got to read this comment on this thing here. If you can't come to our shop, then maybe our shop can come to you. No, this is not a collection of in-store performances. There are no bands or artists trying to impress you with their skills and technique. This is a collection of location environmental recordings made inside of our record stores. Just the sound of regular everyday customers looking at the records, talking about the records, buying the records, oh yeah. And record store owners boxing up records for mail order customers.
That's unbelievable.
Oh my gosh. Well, there it is.
If I wake up tomorrow morning and this is on Secret Spins, it'll make my day.
Ah, there you go, Wolfman. Jeez. Wow, Cesar, he doesn't know about my DJ setup in the bedroom. Another 2 turntables. CD players. One day.
Hey, do you guys have a memory from a record store that you can share?
A memory?
Yeah, this could be. Yeah, we can end with this. Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
I just remember being difficult with my friend when he was part of the RSD stuff. I used to come in there and be like, tell the owner, like, so Kyle, right? Everything is 25% off, everything? And he'd just give me the evil eye, honestly, But I do remember when Used Kids Records in Columbus, Ohio, other than the record store day stuff, they would sell Grail records. And I remember that they were selling that year Loveless My Bloody Valentine, UK creation, $50 each. They had 2 of them. And a friend of mine bought them both, and that's the same guy that is the brother of the drummer of the Black Keys.
Okay.
One who won a Grammy. That's one of my memories. Groove Seeker, Joel.
I need a minute, Joel. You could go.
I mean, I have a lot of them. The memories that I have that I want to share don't have anything to do with the music itself. But when I was working at Tower, there was a guy I worked with there. His name was Seven. And if by any chance he ever sees this video, like, hey, if you see this, reach out to me, man. I miss you. Anyway, he bet me that he could beat me running from the front of the store to the back of the store. And on the back of the store, it had we had all the DVDs and everything. And because we were getting into a discussion about, like, running barefoot versus with shoes. And so we ran from the front of the store to the back of the store. I beat him. But he was so intent on beating me that he ran right into the back wall, and all the DVDs just went flying everywhere. And it was just like, I'll never forget that. Because then we had to sit there all, an hour or two after closing and put them all back up on the shelf.
Yeah, a lot of my memories are working at the store, and a lot of them I can't say on the air. But Ross, I can't believe I've never told you this. So there was this kid Andrew, who was like the quintessential punk rocker, who used to come into our store and steal like every day. And we knew he stole, but like, I don't know if you've experienced this, Joel. Like, you had to see somebody stealing to accuse them, right?
Yeah.
And then you couldn't chase them or you couldn't stop them. You had to just like phone it in. One day I had enough. So I'm working with my friend Nicole, and she's like, he's at it again. So I'm like, how do you know? He's like, he's not in the punk section. He's in the freaking pop rock section. So I'm like, what? So, and it's like a day shift, and like we were in college. So it's like a day shift during the weekday. Ross, you're going to get a freaking kick out of this. So he grabs the disc, and like we sort of see him, and he starts walking out the store, and I'm like, this is my chance. I just go at him, and I'm running like through the mall to get him. We go out the doors. So I go, dude, like, I just want you to know, like, we put in cameras, like, just give me the CD and I won't call the cops. Like, we'll call it even, like, you don't come back anymore. So he's like, I don't have a CD. I'm like, dude, I can see it like in your belt. Like, just give me the CD. Like, enough's enough. So he goes, fine. So Rojas, he gives me the CD, and it's fucking Fish. I'm like, dude, I was like, you come in the store, you make fun of us for playing this stuff, and you're stealing it. He's like, whatever, man. So I was like, dude, just come back inside. Like, I'm not going to call the cops. He's like, all right. So we go back inside. I give my friend Nicole a wink. She calls the cops on the kid.
What?
Oh, no.
Yes.
No.
So we had a burnt CD of Jane's Addiction's Been Caught Stealing. It was just like 12 times, and we just put it on the whole time while he was in the back. So anyway, he gets walked out. He doesn't get into trouble. Like, we talk to the cops. We're like, we're not going to press charges. Just like scare him a little bit or whatever. So then, like 2 or 3 years later, I go to this grocery store like 2 towns over from me that I never really go to. And I'm walking up, and he's like ringing people out. He's like the cashier, and I'm like next in line. I'm like, oh, fuck. So I was like, still listening to Fish, man? He goes, yeah, they fucking suck. And that was the last time I saw him. It was such a great memory. So cool. So cool. Yeah, Andrew, fucking punk rocker, man. They were stealing time from a faulty plan. That's right, Joe.
I got all kinds of stories about people. We had a guy I was working at Sam Goody. So what the guy was doing was he had like a duffel bag, and he was stuffing things into it. And then in the bathroom, he was lifting up one of the tiles, and he was storing the bag. So he would like take stuff, go into the bathroom, put it in the duffel bag. And then I'm not really sure how he was getting it out, but he was caught eventually because the bag got so heavy that it fell through the ceiling. And everyone was like, what is this? And he ended up getting caught because we saw him on the camera. But that kind of stuff happened all the time.
They used to come in with do you remember booster bags? Do you remember what those were?
Describe them for me.
They would come in with like a shopping bag, like a Macy's shopping bag, and it would be lined with like foil.
Oh yeah.
When they dropped the stuff in and they walked out, the sensors wouldn't pick it up.
Yeah.
So like you could spot these people from a mile away because they'd walk in with like a bag of a store that doesn't exist in the mall. You're like, oh, you're about to steal. Like, come on, like, what are you doing? But yeah, they used to run some crazy scams, and then they come back and return it, and like get store credit and shit like that. So
good times.
Joel, you probably know this. Like, what about working at a music store and then like the parties with the staff after? Those were the best. Like you go out, like you close the store at 10 or whatever, and everybody's like, whose house are we going to? And it's just like debauchery all night, and you're back opening the store the next day. It's good times.
Yeah, all kinds of stories like that. Oh man, Jason, you ever worked in a store?
No, I almost became partner of a store. Almost. They were asking me when I decided to leave Ohio, and I think at that time, I'm trying to think here, it was either I think I was moving out west, I think. So the timing was wrong. So I never got to work at my roommate's store, which was Spoonful Records. But maybe I lucked out, you know. I needed to get out of Ohio, you know, do something else.
Would you open a record store now?
I don't know. It'd be a lot of work. I think my friend, he talks to me like he owns a huge collection. He always trying to talk to me, you know, talk me into doing that where I would be the good cop and he would be the bad cop. You know?
He's trying to run scams on people. Good cop, bad cop. Interesting.
But I just know it's like a lot of work, as you know, right? Like, yeah, you have to deal with personalities, and you're trying to buy records to get curated stock. You never want to have stock that sits. It's, you know, it's not great, you know.
Yeah,
it is a lot of work. This is what I tell people when they, and I know you're trying to end let me just say this thing, is that, you know, for all the complaints that people make about the price of records and everything like that, there is not a record store owner that is getting rich off of this. Everyone who does it is doing it because it's a passion. 100%. There is no other reason to do it. And it is a ton of work. If you have a local store that has a large selection of used records, that is such a monumental amount of work. Some stores are luckier than others on having people bring things in, but the people that have to go out and, you know, drive and find collections and sort through them and all that kind of stuff, an insane amount of work. So like everyone just needs to be friendly to their local record store owners because, you know.
Yeah, I agree.
I wonder because so here in Dallas or up in Dallas, Good Records, one of my favorite record stores from back in the day. I saw MC 900 Foot Jesus back in the day. A lot of in-store performances there that were amazing. He recently got injured. He was like, the story they told was that he was up on a ladder. He was already in like not in good health, and he was up on a ladder trying to do something in the store, and he fell. Ends up injuring his spinal cord, and now he's in the hospital. He's had that store over 20 years. And you know, and they had to do a GoFundMe to help him with his health care. And I tell that story partly, you know, so that people can go check out Good Records because it's a cool place. But two, that store owners, we're not making a ton of money. You know, you gotta show them support if you care about physical media, or even if you just care about music in general. Because I think record stores are such an integral part of what makes the whole thing work. And you know, if they go away, it almost happened. You know, when all the Napster stuff was happening, I was afraid that we're never going to see physical media again, which means stores aren't going to exist, because if it goes all digital, you know, you're not going to need a store. You know, and I was afraid stores were going to go away. So let's
when
just
that happened. Sorry, Joel, my bad.
No, I'm done. Go.
I saw it like the last time I worked in a record store was 2006 a music store, wasn't a record store, like 2006 or 2007. So this is right on the verge of digital really taking over. And what really worried me is when we were getting shipments in, we'd get CDs and whatnot, but then the t-shirts started coming, the candy, the toys, the comic related stuff. And I'm like, this is a music store. Like, what's going on here? And I was like, oh, this is a bad sign. They're looking for novelty items now. And that was kind of like the end of it. And there is locals, obviously, where I am, but there's also some chains. Like Newberry is big where I live in the Northeast. And I worry about them too, because they don't do it right. Like, they have such an opportunity to kind of be that mall anchor for physical media. And I don't know if you ever shopped in a Newberry before or been to one, but it's a disaster. Like, nothing's organized. It's not engaging. And it's really like the centerpiece of most of their stores. It's usually right in the front or like in a specific area. And they get a bunch of exclusives and stuff, but it's like they're missing such an opportunity, even if it's a corporate situation, to create something really special. It's kind of painful to go in. And every time I go into Newberry, I'm the oldest person by far looking at records, which is where the opportunity is being missed. Like, they're not taking advantage of, and not in a negative way. They're not appealing to kids and making it enticing. It's just kind of like, yeah, we have records, it's cool, but they don't do well with it.
Yeah, I can see that. So I know I still think you're trying to end this thing, but if you put up Depeche Commode's thing, I could talk for hours. We can go all night talking about this stuff. Depeche Commode's thing right here about Discogs, that could be a whole separate video, and I would love to dive into this. Okay.
Sure. We could do that.
I don't mean we could do it now if you want, but it's going to go longer. So whatever you want to do.
No, we'll do it next time. We'll do it next time.
Yeah. So save this. Let's screenshot this comment, and we'll kick off. But it doesn't have to be this way, and you should still support record stores. So don't change that rarely to often. Okay, talk to the owner and just tell them how you feel, and there's other ways. Don't stop supporting your local record stores.
I don't mean this in jest. I feel like instead of getting Taylor Swift or Metallica, you should be the RSD ambassador, dude. The way you're talking about this tonight, like, I think I love music and I think I love records, but like, hearing you talk, I feel like an amateur. And I mean that with all sincerity. Like, we need more people like you out here trying to set the record straight and make it right and correct some of the mistakes they're having. So when I hear you talk about that, I think it'd be a great show to kind of dive into.
Cool, I'm down. I just have too many great memories about record stores, man. We could have a show just talking about memories of record stores, because I've been in a whole lot of them. And, everything about it. Just music is so important, you know what I mean?
Yep, absolutely.
Agreed. And maybe we'll end it there. I want to thank Groove Seeker for being the wingman. I want to thank our guest, Joel. Joel will come back and maybe we'll talk about Discogs pricing. I want to thank everyone in the chat for joining in. And we'll see you next Monday. Peace.
Good night, guys.